From sunny Southern California, we bring you Meet Bridget. Bring it on, baby! Welcome back to Meet Bridget Season 6. We're on a mission to combat the teenage confidence crisis. It's hard being a teen, and we talk about it honestly. If this is something that you're passionate about, stay with us.
Meet Bridget is a giant career and life path library and a place where women of all ages and stages can connect on common ground. Each episode starts with a deep dive into our guest's day-to-day lifestyle, and then we tap into her unfiltered teenage stories, making the roots of her success relatable. I'm Kashia Rosenberg, and I co-host this show alongside my best friend, Asha Gabriel.
Alec Treffers is a mom of 2 toddlers and a former corporate PR girl turned full-time content creator. Through her platform, What Alec Eats, she shares healthy recipes that are actually delicious while inspiring women and moms to pursue their goals, feel strong in their bodies, and refuse the idea that ambition or self-care has to disappear after kids. Enjoy. Alec Treffers, I'm so excited for you to be here. I feel like this is a connection that's been so funny for me because I feel like we've just been realizing that we're in a lot of the same places here around town and like gravitating towards the same people. So I am so happy to be sitting down with you and sharing your story on the podcast and obviously just getting to know you better as a friend. So
I'm so happy to be here. I know it's funny. I was literally getting my hair curled before this and we have the same hairdresser.
Yes, I know. I was going to go in this morning, but then had a kid situation. I was like, Vaughn, I don't have time to get there ahead of time. And she's like, it's fine. Your hair takes me 10 minutes to curl, if not less. And I'm like, it takes me 45 minutes.
Yeah. I know. That's why I go to her.
Your magic.
Yeah.
Well, I am so excited to dive in because I think anyone that follows you, so on Instagram and other platforms and her website, it's under Alec Treffs, but you share just a wealth of knowledge around wellness, what Alec eats, fitness, motherhood, and you just have this really warm, magnetic personality. I think there's a lot of interest. Obviously, we like to start a lot of the times with our, kind of career informational type interview and give a deep dive to people that might be interested in the career path or just curious even about what it looks like behind the scenes. There's a lot of interest about content creation and how it is a career. I think we've kind of gotten over that hump as a society of like whether influencers are real jobs. And it's like, oh no, like content creation is absolutely a real job and honestly necessary for people in other careers where content creation wasn't even relevant, So I'd love to just get into it. Can you share with us like a day in your life right now, what you're launching, and kind of what your focus has been over the last few months?
Yeah, I would love to. And thank you for that intro. That was beautiful. Very sweet. Every day is so different though. I'm a mom of 2 toddlers. I mean, my son turns 2 next month and my daughter turns 4 in April. So I mean, I'm still in the thick of it with like kids. Like my son still wants me holding him half the time. So every day is very different when it comes to like what my work schedule's like. I'm very type A. So the night before I have my list and my plan that I think I'm going to hit, but I've become very type B in the sense that, motherhood has forced me to be that way, that I cannot get anxious or upset if I don't necessarily hit that list. Whereas me 5+ years ago, it would have freaked me out if I didn't hit every mark on my checklist for the day. But that's also beautiful because that's one of my favorite parts about this job. I always wanted to be able to be a mom first ahead of any career that I had, but still be able to show up for myself independently and things that I love doing. And that's one of the most beautiful parts about being a content creator is that you are your own boss. That makes it very hard and challenging in a lot of ways. But one of the biggest perks of it is that I can control my own schedule and that every day can and does look very different. Some days are very heavy work days in terms of making recipes, editing content, being on my phone, my computer, talking to my managers, sending out emails. And then there's days where I'm going to my daughter's class and reading stories to them at noon and coming home and making banana bread with her before her hip hop class. So it really just depends on the day.
Well, I feel like that flexibility it is aspirational for so many moms to be able to kind of like do it all. But there's also like, it takes a certain amount of internal drive and commitment to then on your work days really like hit it and know that like, okay, this time I'm dedicating to my content creation. Like, this is how I have to be productive. When you first started as a content creator, whenever you can identify that like start point where it's like, oh, this is what I'm doing. How did it look different from your workflow today?
Yeah. So I went to college at Arizona State, and I was in the journalism program, and I really took an interest early on. I think it was like my sophomore year. I had the option to be able to have my specification within journalism be, I think it was either broadcast, print journalism, which is crazy because I don't even know if that would be a
like
thing.
dinosaurs now.
I know. I don't even know if that would be an option anymore, or public relations. And I really took a liking to my PR specific classes. So that was the route that I went. So I graduated with my bachelor's in strategic PR under the journalism program at Arizona State. And I ended up then going to get my master's in strategic PR to just really evolve my practice more. And it's funny because I feel like that is literally like, I mean, I did that from a corporate perspective for 7+ years. And I think it's a really strong analogy to basically say that I marketed for brands for almost a decade. And now I just use a lot of what I learned in college to market for myself. And I think that's why I am successful at turning content creation into a business.
I think on that note, there's probably so many people, there's different outlets and ways that you can make money as a content creator. Can you break down sort of how your business functions? Where are like your main income streams? What are kind of supplemental? How do you sort of keep that on the tracks?
Yeah. I mean, I'm very heavy on Instagram right now. Again, I mentioned I have a 1 and a 3-year-old. I would love to disperse my energy a little bit more equally amongst other platforms because it is scary having so much income be on a platform like Instagram where I don't own the content. I have friends in the space that tell me all the time, you need to put more on your website or do Substack or things that you own. And I know I do. So I don't feel like the smartest businesswoman in that sense for putting so much energy into Instagram, but I just don't have the time, it seems like right now, to be able to like re-strategize in that way. But I spend most of my energy goes towards Instagram in terms of creating content for brands and getting paid to create that content in exchange for them to have paid ad usage behind it, or just for it to be living on my channel or platform and them getting exposure for their brand through my page. So that's where like the majority of my time is spent, and then my income comes from.
I love the point you made about like I should be
I know what
other things, but
it's part of my it's part of my five-year goal.
So relatable. I think honestly for any entrepreneur,
Yes,
but particularly mom entrepreneurs, where it's like I have like our list of things that are like the imminent things that have to be done every single week for the podcast. And then there's all the shoulds where it's like, okay, and then TikTok strategy. And then I want to rechange this thing about the website. And then we need this in the media kit. We need this and this. Like there's a whole like the if I have time list. And I used to feel really guilty about it. And my therapist said something really interesting about that. She's like, sometimes being able to take the time and not be diving into everything that everyone's like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. The distraction of being a mom allows that like those things to kind of simmer in your head a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that when you do choose one, you're definitely like, it's already been processing in your subconscious for a long time. And it kind of reframed the like, okay, because I have all these other commitments of being mom here and these other priorities and things that the daily stuff that keep you from doing all the things you should do. I'm like, that's actually a strength, you know, or can be in a way because those things are still all on your mind.
I would agree. I feel like this is the season. I mean, you still have 2 small kids as well. I think this is the season of life, like when you're in motherhood, where your kids aren't, they still want to hang out with you and they need you every day.
Amazing. And it's only going to happen once.
Yes. It's like to embrace it and give yourself grace. Like, I mean, I I am very passionate, and I do think I have a very like entrepreneurial and workhorse mentality. But I also know that, again, you'd mentioned it. This is a season of life that is going to go by super fast. My husband and I decided we're done having kids. Like we just have our son, not just, I mean, we're very blessed to have our son and our daughter. And I'm like, you know what? Like, it's okay that I'm not doing everything that I want to be doing right now, because I can still do all those things, but I can never go back and get this time
Totally.
of just holding my son and sitting with him and playing with his trucks.
It's so true. To go back to kind of something like the business questions.
Yes.
So I think everyone knows that content creators are working with brands and reaching out, and sometimes like it can happen a little bit like organically here and there. But you tell us a little bit about the process behind the scenes when say you pitch to a brand, you reach out to somebody, are you sending them a media kit, a deck, a presentation? How are you setting your rates? What does that look like behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think it might be helpful to even take like a step back as to
Yeah.
like when I started all of this. I mean, this is going to age me, but I think I was a freshman or sophomore in college when Instagram popped up.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, it was literally just static posts. There was no stories. There was no video form of any content. And so I got on the platform and immediately was like, wait, this is like super fun. I see a lot of people just posting recipes, and I'll even take it a step back further. And maybe this is something you had no idea about me, so this might be interesting for you too. But in college, I really struggled with being orthorexic. I blew my knee out playing volleyball at Arizona State, and it was my freshman year. And I thought volleyball was life at the time. And I blew my knee out, the whole thing, MCL, PCL, meniscus, ACL, the whole shebang. And I really struggled mentally through it all, because I had just moved to Arizona, a new state. I didn't really have a solid community or friend group yet. My family was all in California. And I feel like as part of like a coping mechanism, I lost the idea of being, where I wanted to be with volleyball. And so I started being overly perfect with my food. So if you're not aware of what orthorexia is, it's an eating disorder where you try and be perfect with it. And perfect with food is impossible.
Yeah.
So you end up just creating a very anxious mindset around food. It's very anxiety inducing to go out to eat. Every meal you're just overthinking. It's not a fun way to live mentally. But when Instagram popped up as a platform, I saw a lot of people posting their recipes. And strangely enough, I had always loved food though, and I loved cooking.
Yeah.
And so I thought to myself, like, I had never really been diagnosed with it. I didn't go anywhere to get therapy or anything like that. I think I actually was really still trying to hide it and mask it, because it was kind of embarrassing in my mind, and didn't really want anybody to know about it. I mean, my parents really hadn't even picked up on it much, because I was still another whole state away. And so I was like, well, if I start cooking again and falling in love with food again and posting what I make or what I eat, will this help heal me? And I mean, it took a while, but eventually it did. And so that's where like just the hobby of it came around. And then I started seeing, hey, I can post stuff and brands want to just send me product for free. Like I would literally eat like Luna bars and they'd send me Luna bars. I'm like, this is so cool. Again, aging myself. I don't know if anybody eats Luna bars
No.
anymore.
I mean, they were like the only bar for a long time. It was like, wait, there's a bar for, it was Cliff.
Women.
And it was like, there's a women bar,
Yes,
which is like the same bar.
I know. But like, it was so cool to me that I was like, I can literally like get free stuff from doing this. And so that was like the coolest, like first starting point. And then it started getting to the point where I kept doing it as a side hustle. And I'd been consistent doing this for a long time. Again, I'm aging myself back to when Instagram started as a platform. I mean, that's when I started it under the handle of What Alec Eats. And purely, I don't even know if I showed my face for 2-3+ years, would just post pictures of food. But it went from getting gifted things to being very consistent about posting and getting $50 here and there for posting certain brands or products, or including products within a recipe. But again, it was all still just static posting at this point. But it was so fun to me. And I started meeting other people through the platform. There's this expo that happens in Anaheim once a year called Natural Expo West. And I remember my first year going to it, I was meeting people that I had met on Instagram. I mean, it was just such a weird and interesting experience. Like I felt like we're meeting people for the first time, but was already friends with them. So there was a lot of elements about it that were really fun, but I wasn't necessarily getting too much, like paid too much to do it. And then I would say it was when I was working at Taco Bell. So I was at Taco Bell for 7 years doing corporate PR, some crisis management, but a lot of why I was there, which negates the irony of me being there, but I was there to really help elevate their better for you menu. And so I helped like bring about like a vegetarian menu and get cage-free eggs on the menu. So things like that. But anyways, while I was working at Taco Bell, I started making like a good amount of money, like doing it. Still side hustle money, but when COVID happened, Taco Bell let go of like 50% of the marketing department, and I was part of that. So I got fired, but I had gotten a severance package because I'd been there long enough. I remember looking at my husband, Ryan, and at the time, like he didn't think social media could be a lucrative business.
Right.
I mean, he'd always been very supportive of anything I wanted to do. But when I told him, hey, I don't think I'm going to go try and find another corporate job. I think I'm going to like see if I can make this more than side hustle money and turn it into like a full-fledged business. He was like, excuse me, what? Like you have a master's from USC and you want to just not go back to a corporate job and you want to do social media. And so anyways, I gave myself 6 months to have a financial goal in mind as to like how much money I'd want to make to be able to be secure enough for us we hadn't had kids yet. So I didn't need to be making as much, but
I'm so curious, like because I'd love to give the specifics.
Yeah.
What was that number? Just to see like what would be, what would feel real for you?
Well, I wanted to match what I was making at Taco Bell, which still wasn't very much. I mean, I was like not even an assistant manager yet in the marketing department. So I think maybe I made $70K a year. So in my mind, I was like, look, you got to make close to $70K in a year for this to feel like this is
like a real job.
Yeah. And
which I feel like there is a thing about, because I have I have an MBA from USC too.
Yeah.
And I feel like there is, along with higher education, especially if you are lucky enough to go to a really good school, there's this then mental block almost in a way where it's like you have to make X amount of money for it to feel worth the amount of education you've had.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm really curious sometimes about that for people, because that's definitely been something I've, had in the back of my head. And I'm like,
I think it makes you hustle harder though too.
It does, because it's like I had to make this worthwhile.
Yes.
Like I have been working,
And I mean, again, not like saying that I wasn't supported from family, but there really wasn't a lot. I didn't have a lot of friends that were doing this as a full-time business yet either. And so there's this like inner competitiveness in me too, where I was like, I want to show everybody like I can do this, So I ended up matching what I was making at Taco Bell at the time. And that was 5 years ago. And now I've been doing it as a full-time business since. So that's kind of like the storyline of it starting as just for fun, side hobby, hobby turns into side hustle, money turns into full-fledged business. But I mean, I've been doing this for closer to probably 15 years. Whenever we were in school, 2011, what are we in now? 2000
like forget
girl math. Yeah. But I mean, it's been a while. And I mean, I think
decade.
that goes to show you too. It doesn't happen overnight. I think there's some people and some pages, accounts that can grow really fast. That is not the case for me at all. It's been something that's been a slow growth, but I think I've just had a very strong business mindset around it, that I've still been able to, even at like when I had 50,000 followers, I would assume I was making just as much as people who were closer to maybe 200, 300,000 followers, because I just knew how to capitalize on it from like a business standpoint.
Yeah. Which is huge. And I think also speaks back to the PR training that you were talking about.
Yes.
That, I think a lot of young people get to college and feel like they have to choose a major that's literally just choosing their career for the rest of their lives. And it's like, choose something that interests you, because there's 1,000 different ways you can spin it. And you might not have any idea yet, how that might show up. But like, there are so many transferable skills from the thing that you studied, even if it, isn't a PR job necessarily.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about, having the PR perspective? I'm sure you're working with a lot of brands and people that are basically PR for the brands.
I know.
Having the understanding of like what those people are looking for and what they need from an influencer, like kind of what the other end of that hiring looks like. How does that inform your approach when you're going out to work with brands?
Yeah. So I'm very fortunate. I'm in a place now where I do have a team that
Mhm.
they're my managers. And so I don't pitch myself for work anymore at this point. They're amazing at bringing me work and us deciding collectively if this is a good fit for my
Mhm.
time based off of the rate, like the amount of money that that brand has to be able to give me for the amount of work that they want. But what's been really interesting is like when I get briefs from brands and they're like, this is the type of content we want. And some of it is like so overly scripted. And I just laugh because I'm like, this is not going to do well.
Yeah.
Like,
It's actually not what you want. Also,
no,
if someone followed this exactly, it wouldn't work
yes,
for
I'm
you.
like the best brands. Like people always ask me, like, what are your favorite brands to work with? And it's not always the name of the brand. It's the
Mhm.
brands that like they get it. Like it's a loose brief where they're like, hey, we'd love for you to like hit on these message points in your own voice. But ironically, sometimes those are the smaller brands. Like you go work for like you get to work with some of the bigger brands that you think would be so cool to work with. But there is so many cooks in the kitchen and
Yeah.
your work gets
Legal
routed
and
through
this and that.
legal
Yeah.
and this. And it's by the time like it gets back to you to like re-edit by the third time, you're like, this isn't even what I wanted to produce
Well, and
anymore.
creatively, it's
It's
like you're trying to
stifling.
really
Yes.
like put the reason they're hiring a content creator versus just creating a commercial,
Mhm.
in-house is to have a genuine, authentic voice.
Yes.
And it's got to be so much work to kind of get back to that within so many parameters.
Yes.
But I feel like this is all stuff that people probably don't really even realize when they think of the work that a content creator is doing.
Yeah, like I'm very passionate about my paid content and I've been complimented on this and it's one of my favorite compliments that I get is my paid content not looking paid. Like I don't like sounding scripted. I don't want within the first 3 or 4 seconds that you're watching a reel that I've made for you to be like, "Oh, I know this is paid." Like
Yeah.
I love nothing more than my work to feel like, "Oh, like that was a really cool recipe she made. I had no idea that the noodles that were in this recipe were the things that she was
Right. Promoting or
promoting, but
whatever.
I was like, "Oh, wait, this looks good, and those noodles look great, and I wanna go buy them and use her
Yes.
code to buy them," but, I mean, it didn't feel like you were shoving it down my face.
Yeah. Well, I think so much of that goes back to the fact that when you started what you're doing,
Mhm.
it wasn't like, I'm going to make this a career. I'm going to work with brands. I'm going to make money, which I mean, a lot of content creators can successfully start with that perspective and that strategy
Yeah.
and make it work. But starting from a place of heart and really like like self-reflection and like, I'm going to kind of heal this part of me
Yeah.
by facing food and
Mhm.
working through it and re-scripting sort of my own relationship and inner narrative with food.
Yeah.
And I think that I love stories like that where it's like it started just as a thing
A
you wanted
healing
that was on your
honestly,
heart,
it was a
really.
healing
Yeah.
mechanism, and now it's my job. It's pretty crazy. Like, I would have never thought that it would have taken me here, but, through healing that like, just my orthorexic eating and then realizing, like, this is so fun, like, I love tapping into my creative element. I don't know, like, I thought I'd be a corporate girly because I'm type A, I liked
Yeah.
the structure,
And
I
the
like
teams and stuff like
yes.
that's really fun. I feel like
Yeah.
that's one thing I miss from like corporate
Yes.
worlds. It's like walking in and be like,
For
hey, let's,
sure. Or even just like it's very what's the word I want to say? It's like it's not scary. It's not as scary, I feel like having a corporate job. I mean,
totally.
being a content creator is an entrepreneur and not every month is the same. I'm not making the same every
Right.
month.
Well, and
Every
if you
month
stop, it stops. Unless
exactly.
you really have systems in place and things that are selling while you're sleeping and stuff, like,
Yeah.
it's you at the
Yeah.
end of the day where like, I mean, you're working for a corporation, you'd be like, I'm going on my vacation. I set this and this up. My out of office is on.
Oh
See you
yeah.
guys later,
No. Yeah, I mean, 9 to 5, who's that? What's
Yeah.
that? Yeah, no, I mean, more times than not, because I do love the flexibility I have of, like, picking my kids up from school. They're both still young, and it's like a half day. I get them at 1 o'clock, and
Yeah.
it's like, that's not a long enough work day, so
No.
more times than not, when they go down at, like, 7:30, which thank God they both are
Yeah.
great sleepers, and
That's
it's like
wonderful.
7:30, they're out. But it's like I still sometimes work for 2 or 3 hours after that because it's
Yeah.
like I need to edit all my stuff. Like, when else am I gonna do that? Because during the day is when I use the natural lighting to shoot, but at night is when I feel like I'm my
Edit
my
mine.
editing girl.
A lot of photographers I know like would do that too. They're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, like I like shoot around the sun
Yep.
and then I like
Edit at
edit in the
night.
middle of the night.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just crush Red Bulls and just work through photos and video. But it is kind of two different brains in so many ways. You mentioned that you have a management team now. Can you walk us through like selecting a management team, how that looked for you if somebody were a budding content creator and at the point where they wanted to start hiring people? What was your process for finding the right people to really elevate what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm fortunate they came to me. So my manager Laura, she's local, and we had actually met back when I worked at Taco Bell just through like mutual friends, and then she was starting her own agency and supporting and basically creating work for influencers and being their managers. And I just really liked her personally. I think that's what comes down to it too. You have to like them. You have to want to also be friends like with your management team.
Yeah,
Like
you're going to be in there talking a lot.
yeah. And I personally, I know that you can have a management team from anywhere around the world to have manage you. I
Right.
wanted somebody locally. I wanted somebody that like we could meet up and like have our monthly chats, like getting coffee. I mean, we don't always do that. More times than not, we just connect via phone, even though we live in the same city. But if we want to meet up, it is an option. And I like that option. I also feel like she gets me, and I feel like she knows the kind of brands that like she just knows my values too. And I think that's important because managers take 20%. And not everywhere, but more times than not, they take 20% of your cut. If you have a good manager, they pitch you a higher rate than you could probably ever pitch yourself.
Yes.
So that 20%.
Well, and they're also like collecting for you too, and invoicing and all that stuff.
Yes.
Which as a creative can be incredibly daunting.
So nice. Yeah. I mean, again, I'm the one videoing content. I'm the one editing my content. I don't want to like manage my own books on top of that too. I mean, at the end of the day, that's like 3 different roles in a business that one person
and on top of being a mom and a human.
Yes.
You know?
So that's really helpful. I feel like she gets my values, and she will fight for me to have high rates, and she'll get me the brands. I have wish lists of brands that I'd like to work with, and she very oftentimes gets me brands that I like working with. So I think that's very helpful. But yeah, I think it's you have to find somebody that's not just trying to, like I said, they get 20% of your cut. So a manager could, and probably more times than not, is just trying to pitch and put everything on your plate so they can take 20% of it. She is amazing in that she'll be like, I'm going to send you this because morally, I just want you to know this is on the table for you, but it's from like Coca-Cola, and I'm almost positive you don't want to work with them, but I'm just letting you know it's on the table, but I respect if you don't want to. Like, she'll never try and put anything on my plate or push me, even just because,
or something.
Exactly. And I think that's so important to show that they care about you as a person versus just, your moneymaker.
Right. Well, it's interesting because I think like for people that maybe don't, there's parallels in like entertainment and how the industry is structured in a way, right? There's all different types of managers, music and, acting or modeling or whatever. But like the distinction even between like an agent and a manager, and why a lot of people have both, right? Is that an agent is there like negotiating, trying to get like the right person in the right jobs and the biggest numbers. And it's a little bit more mass,
Mm-hmm.
and they have more clients usually.
Okay.
Where like a manager, like, and if you're looking for a manager for any craft that you're doing, that person that you want to see in them is that like long-term,
totally,
because it benefits them to have your brand have longevity and integrity and the trust of your audience and all these things. So being able to connect with someone that can do that for you seems so important.
It is very important. So I have, and as my business has evolved too, like, and there's more outsourcing that happens. I feel like if you would ask me a couple years ago if I would have needed this much quote unquote help, I would have been like, no, like I can do all this. I mean,
well, and it's funny because you almost think like, oh, I get better at it, I'm going to need less help. And it's like,
no. Yeah. So, I mean, it's like any business. And I think when you treat it like that, then you need to be able to respect and let go of your ego enough to know that like you should and can be asking for help on these things. If it fits financially within your budget to like outsource things, do it so you can focus on the things that you're good at. If you like, I mean, content creators are creative people. Like if you're spending too much time like outside of the creative space, then I feel like that's where you're not going in the right direction probably with your business. I mean, for me, like that's where I want to be spending my time. And so on top of having my managers who pitch me work, I like within the last year and a half, I've also brought on like a social strategist where she's amazing in the sense that she is analytical, and she'll go into my page, and she has really helped me grow because she has been able to look at content that I create and tells me what's doing well and what's doing not based off of just the performance and analytics behind it. Like she has different metrics that she can see that I can't see just going into my own page. It's like
Yeah.
separate apps and accounts and stuff like that. And she dives hard into it. And it's basically like I'm not throwing paint at a wall anymore with my
Right.
content. I think a lot of times content creators just feel like, I want to create some funny stuff here and do this meme, and then maybe I'll do
Feel like
like
this.
then
and
I feel like doing this today, or I'll put my husband in some of this content, and maybe I'll do a recipe here. It's like I very clearly have a lane now, and once I've figured out my lane too, that's when I really started growing. I feel
Yeah.
like it's really important to figure out like your niche. I think trying to do everything and be in everything account just it doesn't do much for
Yeah.
you.
What other things are you outsourcing besides?
Yeah.
So you go to manager, you've got a social strategist.
Yes.
You mentioned like a videographer recently.
Yeah. I mean, so it's not like contractually like that I have her. It's just that, another thing I'd be like, I'd want my husband or my friends helping me film some stuff. There's some stuff where a tripod just isn't going to work. Like you need
Yeah.
more fluid in your video than just setting your phone up on
Right.
a tripod. And so, but like I was just like, it's so cringe to me to like ask friends sometimes because you can't be bossy with a friend,
Yeah,
or
like directing your
or I don't
friend.
want to be bossy with a friend. But then like some friends too, like bless their souls, but like they just cannot film you correctly. You're like, I'm so like off centered. I just don't know how you don't see that, but I don't know how to explain to you how to
Yeah.
fix it.
Yeah.
Or like my husband, like, I mean, it's just like, this isn't his thing. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think just getting to the point where I was like, it just makes so much more sense to hire somebody.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like in my mind, I justify it in the sense that paying that person to help me, and it takes less time for them. And
Yeah.
we can hammer this out in 30 minutes. Whereas I might ask a friend to do it and I don't like it. So then the next day I'm asking another friend to help me shoot it. I'm wasting time.
Yeah.
And that time I could be spending shooting other content. So the more I grow, I guess just the mindset that I have as a business like woman in this is that I'm like, hey, if I am going to spend money on something or someone, like it has to make sense in the sense that it's the most productive use of my time.
Yeah.
If it's saving me time, then at the end of the day, it's saving me money because then I could be spending more time creating more content and
Right.
taking on more paid campaigns.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think it's like an economic idea, right?
Yeah.
It's like opportunity costs where it's like
Totally.
your time is not just time, it's other opportunities and other paid opportunities. As your business grows, that time gets more and more expensive. So it's
For
like
sure.
that it is good actually that you're hiring someone, you're giving someone an opportunity to, be a part of your business. That means your business is getting bigger.
Yeah. Or even realizing what you're good and not
Yes.
good at.
Yes.
I feel like the older I get too, like I'm just like I have less of an ego about things that I'm not
No.
good at. I mean, it's something as superficial as I'm horrible at doing my hair and my nails. I would pay somebody every time to do my hair and my nails versus me try and do it and me mess it up and take 2 hours trying to fix it. Whereas like I can literally have when we talked about Vaughn,
Yeah.
like she can do it in 5 minutes.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? Like
I
I'd
just
I'd
like,
rather
wrap
take
my
care
head
of
around
her.
this where I'm like, okay, we're on camera a lot more.
Yes.
I'm like, I curled my hair today, but I'm like,
yeah. I don't feel
I
bad
asked
about
her,
it.
I was like, could you curl my hair? And she's like, I can curl your hair in 5 to 10
Yeah.
minutes. I'm like, my hair, this like mop of hair.
Yeah.
And she's
She's
like,
so
yes. I'm like,
fast.
certain that like that's people are specialists, and you should be a specialist too, even when you're in a career that seems like it's, you are
Yeah.
still wearing a lot of hats.
Yeah. And I mean, you brought up another thought in my head too. And I think like I was afraid to do that for so long. Again, like keeping just the beauty of the things up, like
Mhm.
face, hair, nails, all the things. But at the end of the day, like our face and our presence is a big part of like the job. And like I used to feel guilty about like going to go get these services or things done. And it's like, why should I mean models and actresses who are on camera all the time do it too. And I know it's not apples to apples and below, like, I mean, we're not A-list celebrities, but it's still at the end of the day, like I want to look professional. I want to look nice. And it means a lot to me to look those things. And if I'm not as good as doing them as a professional, like, then I'd rather pay them to do it so I can focus on my craft.
Well, and I also think I had to kind of wrap my head around that when I was modeling.
Yeah.
Just like all these things you do for maintenance, right?
Yeah.
And it's like half of it, yes, maybe does make you look a little bit better on camera.
Yeah.
But I feel like 80% of it is like, I know I can walk into my job confidently that I take care of myself.
Yes.
Like that is in my subconscious, that is
Yes.
part of
And
my
then you were
preparation
better
for my
at your
job. Is I
job.
take care of myself, which I think actually translates to any job that's even not on
Totally.
camera,
Totally.
and why your message around wellness and nourishing yourself and taking care of yourself and setting big goals, but doing them in a healthy way, is accessible to anyone, anywhere, whether they're in an entertainment career or not. It's like if you are doing those things and treating yourself a certain way, people pick up on it.
Totally.
Which then opens more doors for you,
Yeah.
whether you're on a camera or not.
I think that's an interesting segue because last year after my son's first birthday, I saw a video of myself in Cabo and I was just like not happy with the way I looked. And I think that's okay to say that also. I
Yes.
feel like we're in this like society where everyone's like, just love the way you look. And I'm like, I didn't love the way that I looked,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something about it. And so I did. And as I went on this journey, counting macros and just getting very like honed in on my body, because I had been so unselfish with my body for 4+ years between being pregnant back to back, breastfeeding both my kids for a year. And so when I was done breastfeeding my son, knowing we didn't want to have any more kids, I was like, look, I'm going to like take back my body.
Yeah.
And I want to like get in the best damn shape of my life. And it's funny because I've had friends that I've been at the same gym through this process of losing like 18+ pounds. And they are like, you walk into the gym different. Like you feel more, you walk in more confident. And my Instagram, my business has grown as I've lost this weight and shared my kind of mom glow up journey. And I mean, it makes me believe too, that like that confidence transcends onto Instagram. And maybe that's why more people are, more interested in following me now too. And so it's kind of cool to see that
it's not so
domino
simple
effect.
as like lose weight now and all this stuff that we literally heard since the 80s.
Yes.
And this like diet culture was low fat everything and stuff.
Yes.
That it's like, yes, like maybe that's the headline that's going to capture somebody's attention, because deep down, like whether it's funny. I had another guest on recently. She was like, oh, I work with a lot of like celebrities and like very beautiful women. And you think that like, oh, that person must be so confident,
Yeah.
and never have the insecurity or whatever. And she's like, those often are like they have the most insecure moments and the deepest darks and like,
that.
and intensity and everything in how self-critical they are. And it's so funny because I like was recently on a trip with my kids, and I think there was like there's at least like the one bad photo.
I know,
and it's
right?
like you're in a relaxed position and stuff. And
your husband probably took it.
Always. And you happen to be in a white swimsuit. And I've shared on the podcast a lot. I've struggled throughout my life with PMDD, like really bad PMDD. And it usually, because I also have a history of like kind of body dysmorphia and some disordered eating and stuff.
I mean, you were in the industry.
Years,
yeah.
Scar tissue.
Yeah.
That it's like in that couple days of PMDD, there's always usually the pattern is that it's like that little monster, because I feel like once you've been through something like that, it's in like you can heal it, but it's always kind of it's there and it can wake up. So it's like you kind of, instead of saying like, oh, I'm done with that, it's something that's recovered and gone. There's just it's not really that. It's still part of you, but then you have all these like kind of things that you put into place to help it
heal,
and for me it's always been like, okay, like when I know I'm gonna have like my PMDD, I plan therapy, my workouts are non-negotiable, I decrease my workload, I've got different nutrients that I'm trying to get and all this stuff to kind of like bolster that. But it was funny because like I literally had the moment with the photo. And I had to be like, okay, 100 other photos were taken of me on this trip and I felt fine about them. But the one photo, was enough to kind of trigger some of that stuff.
No, it's interesting.
And it was funny because it made me think about, I know like you've shared the video that triggered you, which I think is really brave. But it's so relatable because
I still look at it sometimes just when I'm having my moments of feeling like, have I really grown that much in a year? And I'll look back on it. And it's funny how you can have a different perception watching the same video. I used to watch it a year plus ago and like be upset looking at it. And again, like I'm not even trying to fat shame myself. I mean, most people probably see the video and be like, you just look athletic. Like you don't look big by any means, but I just like, again, I knew in my head, like I could do better. But it's funny. I look back at it now and I'm like proud. It's a totally different perception I have on it now.
Well, and I think it's also kind of fascinating. It's like, wow, we can really be a lot of different versions of ourselves.
Totally.
And I do not, it's not to have control necessarily. I don't think I think that's more towards the disorder stuff is like framing it as wanting to control and be perfect.
No, yeah.
But I
Definitely
do
wasn't that.
have agency over like what I want to shift or how I want to feel or what I want to think when I see myself in a photo, and so much of it, half of it might be the actual size or whatever, but the other half is like what in you needs a little healing, and what in your routine needs to shift so that you feel like we were talking about with all the little things you do before you're on camera and stuff. It's like the things that make you feel like I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah.
We had a lot of people, there's always interest in, people wanted to know what camera are you using and what editing apps before I forget that one. Cause I was like, that was on the list of people like everyone always wants to know that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do try and keep up with the latest iPhones, again, an expense that just makes sense. For my business, but I love using Splice. I know a lot of people love using like CapCut and different ones. Like for me, I just got very comfortable on Splice, like from the get-go. So I move really fast on it. Sometimes I'll play with CapCut because I do think there's some better options on there. But if I am just like moving, if I don't want to
get it done, you're like, I'm comfy here.
I'm very comfortable on Splice. So I think it just comes down to like finding something that like you like and then being consistent with using it because you'll move faster. Like my husband will joke when he's on the couch with me at night after the kids go down, I'm editing stuff. He's like, it's insane how fast your fingers work trying to edit that stuff. I'm like, well, it's like anything that you do. Like I would think some of the things you do for your job, like that's crazy. So it's just, I wouldn't have any, but I wouldn't say it's fair for somebody to compare how fast they can edit if they don't do it full time either. Like this is my full-time job. The same way, like when people are like, oh my gosh, like your meals look so good. Like come like cook for me. I'm like, you guys, I do this for my job. Like please don't like compare yourself, especially moms when they're like, oh my gosh, you made that for your family tonight. Like I like defrosted some teriyaki chicken from Trader Joe's and I'm like, look, this is my job. Like I hope that I can influence you to be able to make this easy recipe. But if nights that you're like, you can't, please don't look at my page and like judge yourself against it. Because that's not fair either.
Well, and I think it's just like so much of, we see all these like specialized, skillful things on the internet all the time at such a fast rate. And you kind of just think that like, oh, that must have happened so quickly. And it's like, no, that's from repetition.
Yeah.
Most of the time, like there are people with special gifts and skills and
totally
blessings, but most of the time it's just like that person has repeated whatever you're doing, especially when it comes to like, wellness and, being in the gym. It's not about like going crazy for a week and doing like,
it's consistency with everything.
Small, little consistent.
I mean, I feel like that's just been like the name of the game for me forever. Like I said, I mean, I started posting static images on Instagram in 2007. Like, and I just have consistently done it. Even when like I wasn't really growing, even when I had friends that were like growing exponentially more than me, like I never gave up. Like not to sound like a like a quote you'd find on Pinterest, but like truly, I just don't give up in things that I do. And even when I have had moments or seasons in, my Instagram career, just doing it for fun where I've been like, is this what I want to do? It's so time sucking. Am I growing enough? Am I making enough to make it worth it? I always just fall back on like, yeah, but you love doing it. You love creating content. You love making recipes and sharing it with the world. And like the biggest, like whenever I have lulls, I feel like I'm spiritual and I believe in God. I feel like God will literally put someone in front of me as like words of affirmation. Like someone at Trader Joe's will walk up to me and be like, I just have to let you know I follow you and I love your recipes. And I'm all of a sudden like, this is why I do it. This is why I do it.
I believe in that too. And it's usually when like, because I feel like this is like really relatable just as any entrepreneur. Yeah. It's like you have like, you could be like feeling on top of the world. And then there's just a day every once in a while and you're like, everyone hates what I'm doing. There's no purpose to this. Like, I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore. Right. And then like something will show up. Someone will reach out to you. Yeah. You'll get a note from somebody and be like, this episode made me cry, and it's like, did you hear me? Like, did you literally some connection happen there?
Your ears were burning. I needed that
and then you're back and you're moving again.
Exactly.
It's part of caring, I think, deeply about what you do.
Yeah.
Is that you'll have those moments of kind of like hesitation or whatever, but also like knowing that a community is responding to what you're doing keeps it this like living, breathing thing.
For sure.
Okay. So you said iPhone most of the time.
Yes. And then for like still images, I have moved over. I'm part of the Canon Mark III G7. I don't even know. I think it's called Canon G7 Mark
yeah,
III
I think
Colt.
I've heard of this. Okay.
I'm in
Yes.
it. I'm in it. It's
Okay.
such a good camera.
Is it manual or are you
So
changing
yes,
like all
it
your,
is so user
you have to learn like
friendly.
f-stops and all that
No,
stuff?
I literally have it on the most basic function of
Oh.
like auto at
Yeah.
like a -1 exposure because I
Yeah.
like it a little bit moody. I don't use the flash. Some people swear by
Yeah.
having the flash on like day and night, but like you just, I mean, depends on like the kind of style you like
Yeah.
in your photos, but like
You like it.
yeah. And I joke that like again, like my husband isn't the best photographer. He can like take the most amazing photos on this camera. It is
Yeah.
so user friendly. And whenever I bring it places and like take photos of my friends too, like if I see a friend looking cute at like dinner, I'm like, just stay right there.
Hold on.
I want to get a
I
cute
gotta
photo of
capture
you.
you.
And like they'll show it to them and they'll be like, this is my new profile picture.
Yeah.
How did you just get this of me?
Yeah.
But it makes everybody look good.
Well, it's kind of fun too to go back to. I mean, so much is on our phones these days, which is flexible and cool,
Yes.
and the cameras are crazy, you know.
Yeah.
But there's something about, I don't know. I feel like the millennial and a lot of us,
I know.
it's like
I
I
love
want to
the
go
good camera.
analog again. Like
Yes.
I want a camera in
I
my
know.
hands, you know. So it's kind of a fun.
That's a good
return
point
to
you
that.
bring up too. I didn't even really think when I got it that it would create this shift in behavior, but I am on my phone less when we go out because if I'm like, I just want to get like cute photos while we're out, I'll leave my phone in my bag the whole time and just have my camera on
Yeah.
the table. And then obviously it's not distracting because I mean, your phone and your camera together is a very distracting mechanism and
Yeah.
socially. And so it's not like I'm like being distracted by a text message or
Right.
wanting to just aimlessly pick up my phone to like check Instagram, which is so bad that like we all do that. I mean, I literally don't even like realize
yeah.
I'm doing it sometimes. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of bored for a second. Let me just pick up I'm like, what am I doing?
I'm really working on that right now because I feel like
It's addictive.
that was actually a question I had in mind for you because obviously you're creating content.
Yeah.
And you do by the nature of just keeping up with what are people doing, what are the trends, what it's, you know,
You're looking
what should
on
we be doing.
Instagram. Yeah.
You do have to be consuming some content.
Of course.
But then like there's only so much time you have
I
between
know.
like, and I've had days where I'm like, okay, I feel like I consumed so much content. I have no interest in making any anymore, you know, and trying to find that balance.
Yeah.
Are you mindful about like how you're consuming content? Are you scheduling that? Or is there like a realtor would look at the MLS and do it a certain way? Like, is there sort of a process for your consumption of content or is that still sort of in flux?
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody probably wishes that they could be on it less unless
Yeah.
you're totally off of it. I
Yeah.
think we all get a little bit of that guilty mindset of
Yeah.
being on it a little bit too much, but I genuinely don't really like scroll during the day.
Yeah.
I mean, if I did, I feel like I'd be so unproductive because it's really easy to get
Yeah.
just stuck on it. And to your point, I do like to go and be a consumer of the app to just get inspiration and to watch how other people are editing stuff,
Yeah.
to see what kind of recipes other people are doing that that other people are liking and how do I put my twist on it, etc. But during the day, it's not something I distract myself with. More 90% of the time I'm good at not distracting myself with it. But then at night when I get down to editing my content or then getting on to just kind of scroll for influence, it's really hard to make that distinction of, okay, I was doing what you would consider market research. And I'm like, when did it move from market research into me just scrolling?
It's built to do that to us. And I
Yeah,
feel like
so it
it
happens,
is such
yeah.
like, I'm like, oh, it's
It
not something you did
happens.
wrong. It's like, it's just like,
Yeah.
it literally happens to every single person.
Yes.
I just got, my sister recommended it, but I got like the brick.
I've heard of it. I feel like I need to
And
look
I was
into
a little
this.
hesitant, but like on days, usually like I'll brick my phone and then I'll just forget and then it'll be off all day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, like I didn't even like there in the beginning of it,
I
like
need to
I
look
keep
into
trying to
it.
open it and I'm like, oh, and it's annoying at first,
Yeah.
but then it's just like I find myself just putting my phone
You're
away.
like, okay, whatever.
And then when
Okay.
I'm like, okay, I need to turn my phone on and engage and do this and do that, it's so much more productive. And I'm
Yes.
like, I don't realize like how much your brain is just being like hyper stimulated and then you get
know.
off and then you're just overstimulated in everything else that you do.
Yeah. It makes it
Um,
hard to focus in other things.
Totally. Especially
I've-
then you throw a kid screaming in the background and you're just like, I'm already over the edge.
I know.
Like,
I need to look into the brick. That'd probably
Yeah.
be smart.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm not great at it.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. I feel like, I could definitely be better and I'd probably get more sleep at night.
Yeah. I just feel like that would be a really hard thing for anyone kind of like approaching content creation is like, well, if you're in there creating, you're also kind of consuming.
Yeah, and
unless you're one of those
also,
people that follow no one.
I really like to try and answer DMs
Yes,
too. Like, I mean,
engage.
it's impossible to like answer all of them, but like, so that's another thing. So then you go in to try and like answer DMs and like answer questions people
Yeah.
have that they message you. And I'm like, okay, then I all of a sudden got lost back into the scroll, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I feel like that part kind of sucks too. I'm like, I'm just trying to like,
yeah.
I'm just trying to do my job and I'm
Yeah.
getting sucked in.
Just be a real person and respond to people. Well, obviously this is a podcast rooted in that teen
Mm-hmm.
experience and the roots of where all of this started. So you shared a little bit about, college and being an athlete. Can we dive back into just that athlete mentality and even
Yeah.
like when volleyball started for you or what you were like as a teenager before you even became, a D1 athlete?
Yeah, I've always been into sports. Both my parents were very active. My dad played football in college. My mom has always been very athletic. And so sports was something that like my brother and I just both gravitated towards too, because they had a lot of influence of us trying sport. Like we tried every sport growing up. And it's funny because now I feel like I'm in that space where I just like want to put my daughter, who's almost 4, into everything just to see what she gravitates
Yeah.
towards. This sidebar, she's so girly and wants to do like the dance and the cheerleading, and I have like 2 left feet. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is so different than what I was
Gives us
interested
those
in.
kids.
I
It's
know.
like, okay, you are like either my exactly me and I'm parenting
Mhm.
myself again, or you are my polar opposite. And I have
Yes,
no idea what to
it's
do
so
with you.
cute, but yeah. So I've always been into sports, and I think just being in sports, like it creates a certain mindset. Like athletes have a very interesting and different mindset. I would say it's safe to assume, and I know the word can maybe be a little triggering, but I mean it in a positive way. I think athletes have very addictive personalities in the sense that they want to be and want to strive to be the best at what they are. And if you take that as a positive way, I think that transcends into anything in life.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I would say again, that's what is part of like the driving force as to like why I've always been very consistent in wanting to grow my business, even in the lulls and the seasons of non growth, is that I don't have like a quitting mentality. Like, growing up, if we did a sport or committed to a season, we were not allowed to quit as much as I like hated it. I'm a horrible swimmer and I committed to a season of swimming. And I remember every day asking my mom, like, can I quit? And she goes, no, like you have to finish the season out. If you don't want to do it after the season, you don't have to.
Yeah. You have to honor your commitment though.
Yeah. So I think that has like been a large part of just, why I've been able to continue to be successful on a platform that can really suck the life out of you sometimes and make you feel like, is this worth it? Because very rarely are you going to find someone that's like, oh, I grew so fast and it's been nothing but amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
I was straight up and I just knew I would be there.
Yeah. Or like, I just grew 100,000 followers in like less than a year.
Yeah.
I'm
One
like,
of my posts went viral and then I just like, I was
blew
an
up.
influencer.
Yeah. I'm like, those stories, like, I don't know. Like, I'm very happy and proud for
yeah.
those people, but like, that's not a reality. And also,
Well, I
I feel like
the muscle for longevity sometimes comes from the quiet hours of being like, I've just been trucking,
Yes.
but like, I know I can truck. I don't know if this is winning, but then like to go beyond that one successful thing, take some of that grit that even got you there in the first place.
I would agree. I think the same can be said just for like anything in life. I mean, again, I mentioned that I lost a good amount of weight after my son's first birthday. And I think just having an innate grit in me made it so that I was successful in my journey in counting macros and being very diligent for a couple months about tracking my food, which I'll preface because I did mention that I, come from an orthorexic background. I actually think counting macros is one of the most educational tools that you can do.
Yeah.
I had a fear of carbs before counting macros, and now I eat more carbs in my adult life than like I ever have. And so it's actually been another healing experience for me, ironically, is counting macros. And while it is dieting, I think it's a very eye-opening and educational dieting experience because you're able to use food in a better function. You're using food smarter than maybe you were doing before. And there's no guessing on if it's going to work. It works.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. And so I guess that's where I was getting at, is that just the grit I think that I just have innately made me successful in counting macros and losing weight too. Yeah. And so it's just, I know there's so many different things you can take out there now when it comes to weight loss. And it's like, sure, you could like, do peptides and lose weight fast, but like, is it creating a habit? Like, so when you go off those peptides, have you created or instilled any new habits in your life to be able to feel like you could keep it off more times than not? And I think that's where like that route gets scary because you haven't created habits for yourself. And I think when you do anything in life, when you create the habits for yourself, that's when you become successful at it because there's the longevity you're talking about.
And you've integrated something into what you're doing. Right. And I actually had it's like similar experience with macros when I started lifting for the first time, like right before my wedding. It was probably like 2018. I had like I was always just like cardio bunny, yoga, Pilates, and like literally fruits and vegetables, like very little protein. thin, and was just real skinny. And I started lifting, and my coach was like, I want you to track macros. I don't really care what else you have, but I want you to hit this protein and have an eye on calories, and just be mindful of like how much you can actually eat within what I'm telling you. And you're not going to gain weight. You're actually going to be so happy. Body's going to shift and change and recomposite. And I saw that happen. I feel like that was the first time in my life that I experienced that, like, oh no, if I like give my body the fuel it needs, it responds positively.
Totally.
And it's like macros, like anything, like any tool can be used well and misused. So it's like, I feel like you have to have that mindfulness around it. Like, am I doing this to make sure I'm fueling my body, or am I doing this to find another thing to control?
Totally.
But
great point.
but I also felt like it was, for me, it was healing. It was like, oh no, my body, I think for a long time, I always had a distrust of my body, that it was almost like this externalized thing where it's like you had to control it through like these restrictions and stuff, which is so much of the culture that we grew up in.
Yeah.
But then being like, oh no, like my body isn't this thing that just won't follow what I want it to, or I have to control or whatever. It's like, oh no, my body is like an incredible machine,
Of course, it is.
that it adapts and responds to what I'm giving it.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important thing to like bring up for people that are like, oh, is macros going to be, even if you have a disordered background in any capacity, that like, oh, it can be very helpful.
Great. Yeah, especially too, because like I think like my biggest like influence in like sharing that I count in macros is like I want people to feel like too, because more times than not, the people that I feel like follow me, they are genuinely or generally interested in health and fitness already, and I feel like they would basically say that they're someone that, look, I do eat healthy. I do work out. I don't understand though, like why I don't like look the way that I want to look. Like it's just not working for me. And I'm like, okay, but maybe you're not eating healthy for your body. Like maybe there's a different way you could be going. You could be doing it smarter, right?
Yeah.
And so those are the cases where I'm always like, look, if you are already like with a healthy mindset, it's just switching a few gears here and
right.
there.
Or just trying something different.
Yeah.
Because sometimes your body just wants a change,
Totally.
and some information, something new to work with or to try.
Yeah.
From a loving capacity.
Yeah.
You mentioned that a lot of that orthorexia showed up after your volleyball injury. And for, I think, a lot of youth athletes, high school athletes, college athletes, I mean, your sport can become a really deep part of your identity.
Yeah.
Can you put us in your mind back then and kind of what was going on and that shift for you and really how it felt for you to be injured at that point in your volleyball career?
Yeah. I mean, so I was really young too. So I went into college 17, which again,
Me too.
So funny. Like there was not like the technology we have either. I remember my freshman year, there was a class I went into where like you had to sign something, but if you weren't 18, you had to have your parent sign it. I'm like, well, I'm also out of state. And they're like, they want you to bring it back to class tomorrow. I'm like, I got to fax this over to my mom. So I might need like 2 days. Anyways, but so when I blew my knee out, I was like freshly 18, so young, so still impressionable. Right. And, I think the hardest part for me was not only it just feeling it got ripped away fast. I mean, it all happened in one day.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had to go straight into like some pre-surgery rehab, then surgery. And I mean, I was in like a soft cast that kept my legs straight for like 3 months so that my MCL, or maybe it was my meniscus, could heal appropriately. And so then when they took that off, that's a whole nother mental, state that just shook me, because you literally, when you keep your legs straight for that long, your muscle deteriorates. I remember taking it off and my thigh was smaller than my kneecap.
As my best friend went through this.
And I was like, oh my God, like this is my life. This is where I'm now. I have to like rebuild it. I have to like break all the scar tissue up, which is a very painful process of trying to learn how to rebend your knee. Anyways, all of these things were really hard because I had to put hours into this. And at the end of it, I still needed to show up for my team at the time, my coach, and I'm glad he did, but it was very hard. I had to go to all of my rehab and then still show up to practices and sit there and support my team.
Yeah.
It was so hard. I wanted to cry every time that I just went to practice and sat there.
Yeah.
And then when I could start kind of walking, I'd shag balls. And I'm like, I just feel like I'm nothing on this team anymore. And I know that my teammates didn't feel like that. And they all still treated me like I was, part of the team, but it didn't feel like that. So I would say just like that was really hard. And I think it's one of those things where nobody knows unless you go through it that an injury is the physical pain is nothing compared to the mental pain.
Yeah.
It is a lot. It's
Yeah.
crushing when you love something so much and then you can't do it anymore. And then you have to put energy into healing through it, but you're not seeing the results of it like necessarily every day. It's very small.
Slow journey.
It's a very
yeah.
small growth that you're making every day. Again, like I had to learn how to rebend my knee again and breaking up that scar tissue in my knee. I remember I'd go into rehab and they would say like a minuscule number, like, okay, today we're going to try and move your knee like half a centimeter or a centimeter. And like, you're like thinking that
Yeah.
can't be that much.
Especially young. You're
It
like
is so
impatient
painful to try and break
already.
up a centimeter scar tissue.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that was it for today. Come back tomorrow. And I'm like, when am I going to walk again?
Yeah.
When am I going to be able to play volleyball again? Like it all just feels like the days are so long and
Yeah.
you're like, I don't know when I'm going to feel like I get my life back again.
So was like the orthorexia after the healing then?
No, it's during
It
it.
was during.
Yeah. Cause
Okay.
I felt like, again, I couldn't really control anything. And then I think part of me was like fearful. I'll mention too. I mean, I don't know if every school campus feels this way, but Arizona State is a very like big athletic community. I mean, it was an NCAA Division I, like Pac-10 school.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of like really good athletes there.
Yeah.
But like my experience is that a lot of the female athletes all kind of had disordered eating. I
Yeah.
think everybody had this perfection mentality. And so I don't want to say that I was like influenced by like my other friends in the athletic community, but there definitely was weird eating behaviors that were happening with like teammates or even roommates that I had that were athletic. So it was like there was that, but then also just like if I'm being honest, like if I wasn't playing volleyball anymore and I wasn't able to like move my body as much and I was seeing just kind of how other women were like fearful of gaining weight, I was like, well, if I can't work out, I'm definitely going to gain weight.
Right.
So I need to control
And this fear.
what I'm
right?
eating, right?
Yeah.
And if I already can't play volleyball and like that's not working out for me, I'm sure as hell not going to like look away that I don't want to look. So I want to
Right.
like, and then
Almost
and then,
overcompensate in this other like, well, I
Yes.
can't control this, so I'm
I
going to
wanna
over
control this.
control here.
and then you start getting complimented on like you looking good and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that feeds into it.
Yeah.
Ironically, like pun intended, but it's like I would start to like hear compliments of like, oh, you look really good. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like,
You're
what
like,
I'm
I'm doing
doing
less
is
of the thing that I want to be doing.
I do not want to tell you what I'm doing because it's not healthy at
Yeah.
all. But yeah, it was one of those things where I just felt like the need to control an element of my life when it felt like other things were out of control. And it's sad. It's amazing to see like where I've come because I love food now. And you might not ever know that about me unless you talk to me about it. Cause I can go to a restaurant now. And to your point, there's always still a little something in you, right? Like you
Yeah.
can always still be a little triggered by things sometimes. And every once in a while, like I'll still have stressful moments where I find myself wanting to like binge eat or something like that. And I'm like, okay, like I'll mentally walk
Right. I'm
myself
like,
through the
I'm
steps on
feeling
like how I
this.
can like avoid
What are
doing
things that
that.
feel good when I'm feeling this? It's
Yes.
literally like almost, I feel like I end up having to like talk to myself like
I do.
talk to my toddler.
I do.
You know, where
Yes.
it's like, oh yeah, like there's my little monkey brain.
Yep.
And like, and you can kind of like recognize things.
Yep.
But
yeah, it was sad. I mean, there was moments where like I remember still specifically this like one time frozen yogurt places had just become like a thing, the self-serve ones.
Yogurtland and Pinkberry and all those
Yogurtland.
places. Yeah.
Yeah. We got like a Yogurtland near our apartment complex and all of my friends wanted to like go get Yogurtland that night. And like just it triggered like anxiety in me just being like, okay, well, I feel like everybody's going to get like big yogurts and put lots of toppings on them. And I'm like, I don't even know how many calories that is. There's no label on it for me to
measure it. Yeah.
how do I measure that? So I just remember that day being like, okay, well, if I'm going to go do that, I feel like all I should have today is 3 bowls of Special K red berries.
Special K red berries.
So sad.
What was it about that? That was in my
No,
sorority house
it's
too.
so bad that they used
I would
to
just eat it dry, but like it was,
Yes.
but the marketing behind it was all
that
these,
you
like,
should have it for
skinny women, and they're like, replace your meals with
It's
Special
so
K red
bad.
berries. I'm like, this is
There was-
disorder.
There was a meal plan like on
Yeah.
the box.
Oh
It
my
was literally like
gosh.
have the cereal for 2 meals
Forgot about that.
and then have one regular meal and then like
Yeah.
have a shake. And I literally used to try and follow that. Do you know that's like under like 800 calories to do that?
Yeah. Also, like crazy.
insane.
No nutrients within
No.
that. Talking about macros.
Yes. No nutrients.
Like,
Yeah.
wow.
But and
Crazy.
then here I am now, like again, now I know how many calories I ate because I counted macros and intuitively still know I pretty much hit that number. I eat like over 2,200 calories a day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's really like you have to take into account your activity level.
Yes.
And like it can be very much like, oh yeah, like, and if something in my lifestyle shifts, I can try something different.
Yep.
And it's like, and this is okay, you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
rather than feeling that like control. I think it's really interesting. I mean, you mentioned, I think that we've had other guests that have struggled with disordered eating, disordered body image. And a lot of times it comes down to control, a need for control. And sometimes
Yeah.
that fosters over a long period of time slowly, or sometimes it's associated with more of like a traumatic event.
Mhm.
And like your injury kind of being that traumatic
Trigger.
event that really triggered it.
Mhm.
Before, when you were in high school, and I assume you were playing volleyball in high
Mhm.
school if you got
Mhm.
to Arizona State, did you have any signs of that kind of thought pattern, or was it more just that like athletic
Yeah,
drive?
not really, like, and I've thought about this before too, obviously, but, like, I don't have any memories in high school or even younger of, like, looking in the mirror and not, like, loving I don't even really think I recognize my body
Yeah.
to be frank. I mean, I think I was a little naive. I mean, I loved sports so much. I loved playing volleyball so much. I spent a lot of time with friends. I was very, like, academic. I took a lot of, like, AP classes. I mean, I was a busy, like, girl,
Yeah.
teenager. So I don't really think I even just recognized my body as like
Yeah.
a female until I got to college and then again recognized that I didn't want to look big. And that's, yeah, unfortunately, it just like had a poor experience with like how I approached food for a while. But yeah, no, I can't say I had like anything in my childhood that was traumatic. I had a really
Yeah.
great childhood. I mean, I did have like every mom who's a millennial. I mean, I had a mom who tried like every diet under the book, like South Beach, Atkins, Weight Watchers, all those. But like, I wouldn't say like those really like influenced me because I feel like she bopped around doing them. But at the end of the day, she like still like, we always ate dinner together as a family.
It was almost like, I feel like the diet culture of like the 90s and 2000s
It was
was
like a
almost,
social
it was
thing.
kind of entertainment
Yeah,
in a
I feel like
way,
it was a
because it
social
was
thing.
also, it's such a part of the like the advertising and stuff
Yes.
in such a blatant way, and all the celebrities on the magazines and stuff, that it was like literally so woven into entertainment that like
Mhm.
no one was even talking about like disordered. It was really like
No.
Mary Kate Olsen was the first
Yes.
one. There was like
Wow. I
there is a
know.
too skinny,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then they just like painted this. I'm like, okay, like, is she okay?
I know.
Like what? How about that? But I feel like it is funny thinking back to like our moms and stuff. Though there was definitely like awareness, but it wasn't really. It was just a different time. Where now
Yeah.
it's like, oh, like there are, you know, disordered patterns. There's things you can do about it. There's mental health. There's therapy. There's all these kind of like, conversations about this stuff that just weren't really in the open. Even though the advertising was so in the open,
Yeah.
what was like that undercurrent was very much.
Yeah, I feel like if anything too, I think there's been a positive way. I feel like we all as moms now
Mhm.
look at like our moms and our grandmas and we take elements that we loved of them as like moms themselves and you're like how do you take those best parts and then add your best parts to be the best version of yourself as
Yeah.
a mom. And so again, and by no means am I like because if my mom listens to this, I don't want her to think I'm like saying that what she did impacted me in a poor way. Again, I never felt it in the moment, but when I kind of just look at life holistically and looked at like how she approached food, like it was one of those things where like now that I have a daughter, I'm like, I never want her to see that like I'm eating a bar and calling that like a meal. And I
Right.
want her to see that like I want to teach her about food and not deem foods as like bad or good
Right, or
to
off
just
limits,
hopefully
or yeah.
influence her like eating behaviors in the best way that I can. So like even now it's like again, my daughter's not even 4 yet, things that we talk about because I'm also a certified nutritionist. So I'll talk to her just about foods and what they do for us because I'll try and give my kids a fiber, carbohydrate on a plate, a healthy fat, and a protein like at every meal, at least when we sit down for dinner. And so I'll kind of talk through sometimes. And like she has fun at this point, like trying to tell me, like, oh, like, okay, my pasta, that's a carb and that gives me energy. And I'm like, yeah. And then my protein, that's my steak and that helps my muscles. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's fun to like teach her about food in that way so that she's interested in being able to like get all of the right food groups on her plates to help her be stronger, to help give her more energy, to help
Right.
her brain be smarter. So like it's
Well,
fun to
and
talk
from a
about food that
perspective
way.
of like what it gives to you, not like what I feel like a lot of the cultural zeitgeist was like decrease, decrease, decrease versus being like, oh no,
Add.
you need this.
Mm-hmm.
You need this vitamin.
Yes.
You actually need all these things. All these things are
Yes.
available for you for a reason,
Yes.
in different times, in different ways. And like, what a cool
I know.
opportunity we have to like experience, and select and, choose what our bodies need.
Yeah.
So as a teenager specifically, what parts of your teen experience, if your daughter was in your shoes as a teenage Alec,
Yeah.
what would you want her to experience that you experienced, and what would maybe you add notes to or want to explain, or were there any like difficult parts of your child or teen years that you would want to guide your daughter through?
It's a great question. Um, I think that being a teenage girl is hard and it sucks sometimes. And I think girls are mean. I think there can
Mhm.
be a lot of mean girls. And I feel bad maybe saying this, but this is just what's wanting to come out. I hope that she kind of experiences some of that though. I do, because I think it's important, because then it reaffirms in your mind what you don't want to be and how you don't want to treat people. I think that I had a lot of mean girl friends like at different points in my life, that I thought were good friends, and then like true colors would show. And I've had a lot of great friends too, but there's been moments in my life where I've seen friends treat me or even other people just poorly, and just like it makes me sad. I'm like, what is hurting so bad in your heart that
Mhm.
you want to treat people like that? Or what makes you think that you're better than somebody? We all walk on the same planet. We're all going to the same heaven. Like, I don't understand like how in your background in your childhood made you feel like you could treat people like that. But I want Cooper to see that people can act that way, and that that's not how we want to treat people. She's already
Right.
kind of experienced. Sometimes we'll be at the park and like, kids can be a little assholes
Yeah.
sometimes already. Like, forgive my French, but I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's funny because my daughter already like, she'll get stuck on him. You know, kids, they like can't,
Yeah.
they'll watch anything. And then
Yeah.
like they have no social awareness of that they're staring. And
Yeah.
she'll kind of watch sometimes like kids who are like not acting the way that like she knows they should be acting. And it's just like, I don't know. I hope she continues to see good and bad people as she grows and evolves and realizes how she wants to act and
Right.
how the kind of person she wants to be, knowing that you can take any direction you want to be. You can be any person you want to be, and you can act any way you want to be to people. And you're totally in control of that. And when you make the decision on how you want to treat people, it very much impacts your life. And I feel like even to this day, I mean, I would consider myself a nice girl. Like I try and walk into any experience and talk to anybody the same way I would talk to anybody else. Like, I don't treat anybody different. I even like, just even in this position as being a quote unquote influencer and having just some notoriety, like it is something that I never take for granted. I think it's so cool when somebody will come up to me and say hi. And I feel like I always want to strike a conversation with them and ask them what their name is, and like thank them for like supporting me and following me. And I just feel like there's nothing uglier than an influencer who just thinks they're cooler than
Right.
everybody else.
Or feels like someone else's success comes at their expense.
Yeah.
I think that that's been on my mind a lot for my daughters, is
Yes.
like this, because when we come into the world, we think the world is all about us. Everything
No.
revolves around us.
Yes.
And I think the downside of that is that we also then, without help and guidance, we take the behaviors of other people very personally. We
Yes.
think that everything everyone else is doing is a reaction to us.
Yes.
And I think being able to, as our daughters grow, like show them that it's like, actually, the things that other people are doing, they might be treating you badly. It might be affecting you, right?
Yeah.
But it's not personal.
No.
It's what's going on with them.
Yeah.
And it's also not within your control. Because if you try to personalize it, then you're also trying to control something else, and you can drive yourself crazy.
Totally.
But I think it's the same thing when it comes to, I have that's a big part of our community, and even how we select people to be on the podcast, is this philosophy that, the idea of women being in competition with each other is so depressing to me,
No.
because it's just like, it's their success is not about you,
Mhm.
nothing else. Your life is about you, and how you treat people is about you. That's all, that's it,
Yeah.
and all you can control. And the more we can celebrate each other, like,
Totally. Everybody has a
just better
space to win.
energy,
Everybody has a space
Yeah.
to win. And I think that even continuing to grow my business on Instagram, like I feel like that has probably also been a result of just like being more confident in myself and like being in my own lane. I mean, it's really easy to point, you mentioned just, being in competition with other women. It's
Yeah.
really hard sometimes not to feel that way,
Yeah.
because you're just watching other people and you're watching their success. And sometimes you can get sidebar and distracted as to being like, should I be creating that type of content? Should I be
Right.
doing this? And at some point within the last year, like I've just, again, gotten more confidence in myself and like my type of content that I like creating. And I feel like staying in my lane and just being in my own personal competition versus like looking externally for any competition has ironically just made me better at my craft and made my content more successful. And it's just interesting when you feel like you're just your own competitor.
Yeah.
I feel like you do the best. You don't
Right.
need to be competing against anybody else because nobody else is you.
No. And no one really cares that
No.
much.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like a kind of depressing thought in a way, but it's like no one is going to care as much about your success or failure
Yeah,
than you.
exactly.
That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Even your own mom,
Yeah.
you know, like that is how it is. And I feel like it can be actually pretty liberating.
Yeah.
So we always round out our interviews with the same question. What is a character trait, a personality trait that you had as a young girl or a teenager that maybe you didn't appreciate then, that looking back, you love and admire about yourself now?
I would say just my attention to detail. I think that I noticed early on, like I had a lot of attention to detail, and sometimes it would just make me anxious and I would get frustrated that I couldn't just be like that messy, fun, like fun's not the right word, just messy, carefree, like
Yes.
child.
Relaxed.
I am not, I've never been a carefree, like messy person. And so, but as a kid, I used to be like, God, like I'd go to the beach and I'd be like, if I'm being honest, like the sand in my toes is kind of giving me anxiety. Like I just don't
You're like,
love,
how am I going to clean this up
I
later?
don't love being messy. Like, and it's funny. I mean, I've gotten a little bit better about being that way with my kids because my kids are very carefree and I love that they're not like as like meticulous as me. But I feel like even at like 4, my mom used to tell me, she's like, you would like organize your underwear drawer and like you would color coordinate the crayons in your box, like your school box. And again, I feel like it used to bug me because I'd be like, oh, why am I like this? This is so annoying. I mean, I think it's made me very successful in a lot of elements of my life now. So I wish I could go back and tell my like 10-year-old self who was like sitting in there, like color coordinating her crayons that like, it's okay. Like this will serve you one day.
Right. Like it's a part, don't fight it.
Yes.
You know,
yes,
lean in.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's one of our favorite things about our episodes is finding those threads that like maybe made you a little bit different and maybe a little uncomfortable. But I feel like the most successful, interesting women like somehow lean into that thing, whatever it is, and how that weaves into their career.
Yeah.
So,
I would think that's why like my editing, I get compliment on my editing
Yeah.
a lot, like for my videos.
It's
and it's
beautiful.
like, I'm meticulous.
Yeah.
I'm very meticulous.
Yeah. It's little Alec with her crayons.
She's coming through.
She's just like, I like that one. Let's go. Well, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. And I am excited for your story to reach our audience and
Thank
beyond.
you. It was so fun talking to you.
And that's our show. If you liked what you heard today, please like, subscribe to, follow, and share Meet Bridget with your circle. The best way to help our work here is to rate and review our podcast. We're listening and constantly working to build something helpful for you. Catch you next time.